House would wish that Nitya doesn't cross its path. Come inside, we have alcohol. I'm just jealous of them. That's all.
Please don't say that I'm not going to read that book. Hey, I'm Tanvi. Welcome to another guest episode of Pages and Beyond podcast show. Today, I'm thrilled to have Nitesh Singh, an engineer, author, and voracious reader. In this episode, we are going to talk about his book and his journey as an author. Hi, Nitesh. How are you doing today?
Hello, Tanvi. First of all, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's an honor and a privilege to be here.
How excited are you about today's episode?
Very much, it might not show on the outside, but I'm very much excited on the inside. Just waiting to burst.
Since Nitesh has written a book having the elements of thrill, paranormal, and mystery, I'm going to ask him few questions that will help our audience and the aspiring writers to write in that particular genre. Before I start, Nitesh, why don't you tell a little more about your journey and how do you balance between your passion and profession? I'm sure you do have a job and you are writing for your passion as a passion for now.
Yeah, definitely. I have a full time job. I do write code. I'm a software engineer. But people will tell you so many things that you have to balance. You have to learn to do time management. You have to do that, this. But I'll tell you a simple truth. The truth is, if you are passionate enough about what you want to do, then you will find the time. It's about balancing your priorities. So if you learn to manage your priorities, if you learn to get them straight, then you will definitely find the time. And this is what exactly what I do. When I have a story in my mind, I just sit for hours and hours and I write, after work, before work, sometimes even during work. Don't let this video reach my manager. But yeah, so if you are passionate enough, you find the time. There is no other way, there is no other method.
I can so relate with you. Like whenever I get time during my work hour, I definitely put it into either writing or either reading. So that is something I think we have to steal time from our busy schedule because being a full time like corporate employee is not an easy task. Like sometimes we have to work on weekends, and I am pretty much sure you might have come across times when you had to work on weekends.
What I feel like as a corporate employee now, after working for like 3+ years, I feel like that this is going to be the same for the rest of my life. So if I think that if I find time certain in a certain future where I'll sit down and write, then it's probably not going to happen until my retirement, right? So I have to find time right now, and I have to realize another fact that the life does not revolve around work. Work is only part of your life. So you have to keep this mantra straight in your mind and then work accordingly.
That's true. Like work is a part of your life, not
Yeah,
the complete life actually.
exactly.
So that we have to understand. Although we say usually the most time where we spend the most time of our lives is our workplace, and that takes our like that defines us. But I believe what we do for our passion is something that defines us more than the work we do at our workplace. What do you say about it?
Yeah. When you say this, there is a certain quote from Harry Potter that comes to mind. It's that more than our abilities, our choices define who we are. So
That's wonderful.
yeah, right. So let's say the work is our ability, what we do professionally, apart from writing, of course. Writing is also a professional art. But what we do apart from writing, let's say that's our ability. But what we choose to do, like writing, reading, all these things that give us peace, that actually defines who we are. It makes us a whole person. It's what makes the life worth living for, right? So when you spend those 8 hours in front of your screen, writing code or doing writing sending emails or whatever, then when you come back to what you love to do, then it's all worth it. So I feel this is how it is. Yeah.
That's so true. Like it's been like around 2 years that I have been like on and off work from office and work from home. So whenever I have to regularly go to office, and then it becomes a tedious task, and that time I like struggle to find time. But I try to manage, and I make sure that I write something or other every other day.
You know what I do? You know what I do? What I do is I carry my book that I'm reading to office. Even though I know I will never get the time to take it out of my bag and read it, but just its presence that it's there in my bag.
That makes it
It's like a
nice.
constant companion, right? So
Yeah.
just its presence is soothing. It gives me peace. So I, it's complicated, but we understand how it works. Hmm.
I also carry a book or my Kindle, whichever book I'm reading currently, in my bag. Mostly, I try to read it while on the way because in office, that's pretty much sure that I cannot do. Even by sneaking from somewhere, I cannot do that. That's for sure. But taking it along and trying to find time while traveling, while commuting, is something that we look for. And sheer of finding a little time to do something that we love is something that gives you satisfaction. So let's not go in depth in this conversation itself because we have a lot to cover about your journey and the book and the genre that you have been writing. So I have read your book recently and I've come across that this book is a mix of thriller, paranormal, and mystery. So what
Yeah.
inspired you to write this book? Was there any true event or an incident or a story maybe that inspired you to write this book?
Yeah, well, I've always wanted to write, but there was no certain point from which you sit down and you decide, okay, I'm going to write this story. There is that desire to write, but not enough motivation. So it happened during COVID that I had a certain bet with a friend of mine, and we were like binging content constantly. So he said that there is no good horror content out there. So I said, okay, I'm not a filmmaker. I neither have the talent or nor enough money to produce a film. But what I can do is I can write a horror story and you tell me whether it's scary enough for you or not. So I started writing. It was supposed to be a short story of like 20, 30 pages at max. But then ideas started to evolve. I started toying with the idea of what is good, what is evil, what is our perceptions of evil, how it inspires us, uh, how it coaxes us to follow a certain direction. So that way, that story evolved and it turned into a complete novel, and that's how it turned out. For the second book, I actually sat down. I had a starting image of the story, and then from that image, I constructed other parts of the story and then expanded that picture. But for the first book, the supernatural thriller, yes, I just sat down and I pinpointed everything. I planned everything, how the story will unfold. Because since you have read, you understand what I'm talking about. That it's a story of many moving parts, and then it clicks together. Every moving parts come together, it forms a complete picture. So it's a completely planned book, but it started off as a bet.
Basically, it's about the parallel setting of two different people, parallel setting of two different people's life, how they intertwine together at the end.
Yeah.
So that makes it a complete, what would I say, complete, I'm not getting that particular word. Basically, it makes it outshine when we talk about thriller and paranormal activity because paranormal was there, it was not exactly what mystery stood out in this book,
Yeah.
how mystery stood out in this book basically. So when we talk about, well, you started it as a short story, so were you having an ending in mind or the story evolved, like you said it evolved in novel from short story?
I did not have an ending in mind, that I must confess. That is because my idea was to scare, and there is the you only scare in the journey, you don't scare in the outcome. So since I only wanted to scare people, I had the journey in mind and not the outcome. But so it as it happened, after I wrote like 3 4 chapters, it suddenly clicked, that I have the perfect climax in my mind. How am I gonna pull off the perfect plot twist? Well, I use the perfect word loosely here because the audience will decide whether it was perfect or not. But yeah, but in my mind, it was a very good plot twist. So that's it.
What do you think about predictability of your plot line? Because in my case, while I was reading that book, there was minor points where I predicted the plot line. So what do you think about it? How is it like? Is it for beginner, for pro readers, or mediators who have just started reading thrillers or something like that?
Yeah, there definitely. If you consume a lot of content, then you are bound to predict certain points, because I'm also a human. I'm gonna think in a human way. So if I have a character, I don't want to, like, if I'm attached to that character, I'm not gonna kill them off. So if there is somebody who is attacking them, then definitely if you predict that they will be saved, then it's possible, it's very probable that they will be saved. But in terms of the over complete, or like the overall arc of the story, I don't think it was that predictable. Or it is possible that in your case you already kind of had certain spoilers from people who had
No,
read the
no,
book.
no, no. I did not take any spoilers about your book.
When we visited the Preeti Sahai ma'am's home, she mentioned certain spoilers.
Actually,
So I think
I'm
subconsciously,
being very
no.
honest. I'm being very honest. I did not remember them at all because when I was reading that book, I don't know. I was having different impression of your book. Like there are two friends, that kind
Mm.
of impression. And when I started reading it, I was like, where are two friends? Whose story
Yeah,
was it? Who
exactly.
was it about hauntedness? So I was like, I was told something different and this is something
Mm.
different. So I was not having any clue while reading a book. So you can't say that I was
Yeah,
having
but
spoilers.
but the two friends, when they come together, then maybe it started to make some sense.
No,
Okay,
no, no,
okay. So this is,
don't call it two friends. It's the story of two girls whose life intertwined because of something
yeah,
that
yeah.
happened in your book. We are not going to give spoiler. So
Mm-hmm.
coming to my next question, in your book, The House by the Highway, the house in itself feels like a character. Was that intentional or that just happened?
Yes, no, it was definitely intentional, because it has become a cliche for horror stories that a family comes in, they move in a house, and then they experience certain things. So I wanted a haunted house because it's very interesting, intriguing. It's very attracting to people who want to read a horror story, but I didn't want it in a cliche way. So I made it part of every character's life, even though none of them are living in that house, which was something which was something very different in my opinion. And but still, like, everybody's drawn to that house and they have certain connections, some story, some backstory to that house, but none of them are living there. So yes, the house has a character. Plus, if you read the book, you will know that the house itself has certain history, and which has given it a mind of its own, and that mind manipulates people into doing things. So of course, the house itself is the biggest character in the story, and everything else is just a puppet that the house is controlling. Yeah.
That's lovely. That's lovely. Because
Mm.
while reading it, I was like, oh my God, this house has something to do with everything. And the house was guiding people through like different doors, windows, and everything that has been in the house. Since writing thrillers require a lot of detail, how do you balance between clues and red herrings?
Yeah. So while you're writing a thriller, it happens a lot of times that you write a few thousand words and then you realize, oh my God, there is such a big plot hole that I've written. So you have to overdo everything. You have to start from the beginning. Sometimes it happens. So every writer has different methods. I hear that some people prepare a chart and they map every character. Or what I personally do is I have keep a diary. I have pages dedicated to each character. I write down their character points, and I want the character to stay true to their character points. It's not like somebody who started out as a very docile, very gentle person will suddenly behave like a violent person just because my plot demands it. So I try to balance out between the characters and the plots. So that is how the nuances also creep into the story. But when it comes to thriller writing, then yeah, detailing is very important. So I have to keep on reading, keep on noting down all the loose threads that I have created till now, so that I tie them up at the end, so that readers don't have that complaint, okay, that thing wasn't explained properly. So as a thriller writer, you have to, like, be very meticulous with your art of writing. You have to keep proper notes. Everything should be organized. Like, at least that is my process. Unless you're a genius, you can remember everything. Then have it your way. I don't mind.
Actually, this reminded me of something like we also like parallels do not meet. But in your book, you started with a parallel plot lines, and somehow it got merged in later. So,
Yeah.
what do you think about this kind of a thought? Like, what about people's thought on this particular thing? Like, how parallels are meeting in your story at the end? Like, compare it with the geometry, basically, or the mathematics. How parallel are meeting in the end?
Yeah, see, I have always been fascinated by these parallel narratives. And I kind of feel like it is a metaphor on life itself, because people live their own lives. They all have their wonderful stories, and then they all come together. So as a child, I used to read these stories with parallel narratives, especially in the books of Stephen King. So the first book I read was called The Stand, and it's a huge book. So every chapter has story from a different character's perspective. So every time I'm reading, I'm thinking, what will happen when these characters meet? I hope these characters meet. I want to know what their interaction would be. It was so exciting. I didn't know whether these characters will ever meet or not, but I would always think in my mind it will be so exciting if they met. So I have tried to, like, it's not a copy, it's an inspiration of that form of narrative that I've tried to pen it down in my book. And plus, it's people say it's just two parallel narratives, but I disagree. I say it's three. It's Pihu, Nitya, and Bipin as well. So Bipin also has his own
Okay.
parallel storyline, and he also happens to cross paths with these two women, young women.
That is again parallel itself. Like, it's not two, it's three, but again, it's parallel, and they all meet in the end.
Yeah, they all meet in the end, because then you have to tie all the loose ends. So nothing better than every character getting together over tea and discussing what just happened with us. That was crazy what happened. And at least, like, even though we don't completely like each other, but our curiosity is so big that
Yeah.
we are ready to overcome our hatred because we want answers.
And the best part was that every character has a different story that they knew about it. Like, Vipin knew something else. Nitya,
Mm.
like, she dug out something. Like, she too got it from the newspapers and the stuff. And Pihu, who was clueless about anything. So there were different stories that came together at the end. Do you agree that the places remember about the lives that had lived inside it?
I cannot say that for sure. So even though I'm a supernatural writer, so to speak, I would not comment on the existence of the supernatural itself.
So you
Although
are afraid,
it
like
will.
you are
Um,
afraid about it, that if you say so, something might happen around you. Is that something like that?
no. Some I'm not afraid about that, because I am very scared about those things. But yeah, so I am afraid, like, people will think he's such a kooky person. He's saying anything to
How does it
just
matter
set
what
his
people
hopes.
will think? We are not that generation. Like, what we will think about what people will
Yeah,
think. Char log kya kahenge? We don't. That doesn't matter to us, I believe.
yeah. So okay. So more than what places remember, I think as a person, that place has a certain effect on you, and then you carry that effect subconsciously through your life. So I have a character named Rahul. He lived for like 3 years in the house, but that those 3 years changed his life completely, because then he's haunted. He's constantly hounded by the his memories from the house, the voices that he hears, the voices that command him to do certain things. So more than the house itself, Rahul has carried those images from the house. And even though, like, Rahul is a certain, like, gray or negative character, but there is the character of the grandmother. She has been haunted by the house, even though she just spent like half an hour inside the house. And then there is the mother, Molly, who has been carrying secrets from her time inside the house. So everybody has that. Even Vipin, he was in the house for like 15 minutes when he encountered or whatever, you will read and see. But again, it's about what, as a person, you carry from the place, then the what place carries from you. But definitely, yeah, it could be either way, but we don't know, since we are just mortal beings. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful explanation of the same, because I believe whenever we have seen a lot of movies and stories we have read through. So there are people who leave their ancestors' house and they move to different place. And when they come back, like something called like Bhul Bhulaiya kind of picture, Bhul Bhulaiya kind of a movie where the ancestral house holds something that haunted the upcoming generations or the entire family. So something like that, I think that happens. Like places remember us, and we can relate to those places that I think they feel like ours own when we come back to the ancestors' house or the old places that us or our families have lived in.
Yes, yes. But what I feel like is, let's say you are growing inside a house, right? So in your formative years, when you're forming your consciousness, when you're forming your basic memories, the foundation of your learning, so that surrounding, that surrounding always stays with you. So that is why I feel like this is the reason when you come back to your old house, you feel like, okay, something, a piece of us was missing, and after we came back, finally we are complete. So it could be that, it could be a number of things. We don't know, but it's something is there. Yeah, definitely we have that feeling of being complete when we go back to that place.
Since you have written a thriller, what mistakes have you made that you think could help others to become better as a thriller writer?
Uh, the mistakes I would not know, because I mean I can speculate now looking back, but I feel like writing any form of art is an evolving process. So when you're writing, you're learning as well. It's not like you first learned and then you started writing and then everything goes on smoothly from there on. It's not like that. You first uh, you first sit down, you gather your notes, you gather your thoughts, you start to write. So everybody has their own processes. What I would say that I would have done better is I would have been more meticulous in my planning. I would have not gone oscillated between certain theories in my first book, but which I managed to capture very well in my second book. In the second book, I managed to gather opinion from beta readers as well. Just after the manuscript was done, and then I before I showed it to the publishers or the agents. So that I did not do with my first book. I did not gather opinions from people. I just wrote it because I was scared of sharing it with anyone else, and which is a contradiction in itself, because once you publish, everybody's gonna read it. So
Exactly.
yeah, right. So, but I was just scared what people will say, or whether it will be published or not, or it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you're writing for yourself. So do be meticulous if you want to be. If you don't want to be, then it's fine. But at least like gather proper feedback from proper channels, and because you are also learning, everybody's learning, and it never hurts to get opinions from people who are genuine readers. So
That's true. I think getting opinions or the positive criticism about the book that we are writing, it's
not
very
necessarily
important.
positive, constructive.
Okay, let's say constructive criticism basically because we never know, like, we have to reach out to genuine people who will help us to rewrite or write that completely. Because sometimes there are people who will be like so obstinate, like, okay, I don't like it at all. I don't want this. This is not happening. This is not working. So we have to be very picky when we are choosing such people to give their opinion because at the end they might stuck us. Like they might be the reason that we are stuck because one thing that I feel is while we are writing, we have to focus on writing first rather than editing or something of that sort. Otherwise, we won't ever be able to complete the manuscript. The first draft won't be able to be completed. So
Yeah.
that's something. That is something I felt while I was looking for people to proofread my book. I felt like I have to find the genuine people who will help me write, not someone who will stuck me at some certain point, saying like "ye bhi nahi hai, ye bhi nahi." Because I also do beta reading sometimes. So the point is to give the solution for what you didn't like. So that is something that we have to ensure that we get in return.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. You have to maintain. You have to basically streamline the process. The constructiveness or the criticism or the feedback should become part of the process, not necessarily to stop the process. And
Exactly.
secondly, what I feel like is, see, it's very important to understand your limits as well. When you're writing, you have different characters. There are kids, there are older men, older women, and you as a writer have very limited experience as a person in life. Because for example, like I am a male in my 20s, right? So if I'm writing from the perspective of a 60-year-old, I probably don't have the idea what life choices, what decisions they will make in a certain situation. So this is why feedback is necessary, because if someone else reads it, okay, so I will say, okay, in my assessment, this is how that person would react in this so and so situation. So I'll get a feedback. No, 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 you're wrong. You don't know. As a 60-year-old, I don't think this is the choice they would make. So
I
of
think
course,
we have
yeah.
to balance between
Hmm.
accepting what exactly we want and what the reader wants, because every time the author cannot write what reader want. They were having something in mind, they have written with that
No,
perspective, and
reader
that
never consider. Readers don't know what they want. Okay. Readers don't know. Readers will read and they will realize, okay, this is nice. I like it. So readers, maybe they know what they want. At the end of the day, like we are uh, we are giving them entertainment. Like that is what it is. But yeah, so it's like reader, you have to just push. You have to push the boundaries of what people will like or not. You have to stay true to your craft and then hope that people like it. That's all it is in a nutshell.
that's amazing. Like talking to you about all this stuff, because these are the questions that come in my mind as well, and I'm pretty much sure there are a lot of people in our audience who would come across these blocks and obstacles in their writing journey. So before I jump into the last section, I have this question: if the house could speak, what would it say to the people that pass by it? Like, we'll start with character by character. What would it speak to Nitya?
I don't think so. I don't think the house will speak anything to Nitya, because Nitya is so intimidating. Nobody can overpower her. She has solution to every problem. She's very handy, very resourceful. House would wish that Nitya doesn't cross its path.
So, what
House would
about
be
you?
scared of Nitya, not the other way around, I
Oh
think.
my god.
Yeah.
I can vouch for that. Like, that's pretty much true. What about Piyu?
I think House would want to lure Pihu in, because Pihu would be a very attractive house member for the house. Because at the end of the day, House, like if you remember from the story, House is also looking for family members. The house loves people who comes to their house, but in a twisted way or in whatever way, it is still love. So of course, Pihu would be a very perky, very uh, glamorous addition to the family. So House would definitely try to lure Pihu in. So for Pihu,
When
yeah.
I think of Pihu and a house together, I think house will be obsessed with her. Like that
Yeah,
house will
definitely.
crave for her love, and that house will try to trap her. Basically, in possession or basically obsession, the house is going to trap her. Maybe the reason is the love she shows and the way she is. But
Mm.
again, that will be a trap for Pihu. What do you think about Kunal?
Kunal is a very practical person, even though that practicality suffers a blow when it comes to Pihu. Then everything goes out the window. He's very caring towards her. He's very meticulous and caring. If see, there are two situations. If House tries to lure Kunal on his own, then I think Kunal would be smart enough to just keep on walking. But if the house already has Pihu, then Kunal will join the house. Kunal will not care and he'll just enter. And he'll think later, okay, I'll figure it out later. But right now I have to go in.
Is there can be a future of Pihu and Kunal in your upcoming novels or in your books that you would be writing in future maybe?
I don't write romance. So because I find it very tricky. So in my second book there is a romance angle. There is a lot of romance going on between a protagonist. So I even only I know how difficult it was for me to write it. because see, it's I have to force myself because life is not just one thing. It cannot be
True.
about murder itself. Even if even if there is a murder, there will be like two couples doing, like, trying to get their own way in the background. So love is always there, death is always there, it's all there. So that's why romance is also there. So that's why I've tried to write it. I'll see how the audiences react to it. But since I don't write romance in itself, I don't think Pihu and Kunal will come for a standalone novel. But yeah, if I write a sequel, then maybe I'll just progress their relationship somehow. Will they, won't they? Will they, won't they? Situation could come in. We'll see.
I just want to know from Molly as well, what would the house say to Molly? Molly was like one of a character. She was a side character, but her role was amazing. Like I loved her as a character in the book.
The house will say, "Come inside. We have alcohol," and Molly would go. Unless
I
Sameer is with her, then maybe probably won't, because Sameer is the only person who can actually handle, who completes her. So if Sameer is with her, then she will be under control. Otherwise, she'll go in. If the alcohol is there,
which other character would you want like to address here for the house to talk to the particular
I
character?
think I think people talk very less about Keval. Keval is someone who represents kids. Kids, like every kind of kid, because since Keval also has this condition, he's autistic, which is something I wanted to bring readers' attention to, that kids themselves have this tendency to bounce back from every tragedy. So a lot of things happen with Cable in the climax, but still at the end he's able to bounce back. He's just doing his own things. So as a autistic person, as a kid, like everything convolutes. So I think people did not pay much attention to his character, because he was, I think he was the least character that contribute, like he was the character that
I think
contributed the
so.
least.
His contribution was there. Like he played a role
Hmm.
in
Yeah,
her
definitely. See,
sister
every
Nitya's life.
character contributed. Every character
Yeah,
contributed. There
definitely.
was
That's what
nobody,
I'm trying
nothing
to say.
left.
Like even in the mystery, even in that mystery that happened, like the twist that came in the end, the entire chaos that happened, he was a part of that as well, and he was
Yeah,
the one who suffered a lot. So I
yeah, that
think
suffered a
he
lot.
had a very good role. So what would House say to him?
House would say, I don't know actually. I don't know what House would say to him, because with Cable you never know. With Cable you don't know, because even when the tragedy strikes at the end, even then he's busy in his own world.
True.
Right? Danger is around the corner, but Cable is doing his own thing.
He was
So
kidnapped and he was like he was
yeah,
lost in that
yeah.
even.
So doesn't matter what the house will say, because Cable will do what he wants to do, and that's all. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed reading the novel and how the prologue came with the end. Like in the end, how you turned the prologue and like connected the prologue with the story and the in the end. So that was something that I really enjoyed because somehow like talking about mouse and the other one was I don't remember like mouse and fat guy or
The
something.
bully, the
Huh?
mouse and the bully.
And the mouse and that concept was like literally very cute, to be honest. And when it turned out, like when it was revealed, so I was like, oh, I was like somewhere near to it. Like it would be a school thing where a bully was trying to try to suppress a like what we say a weak guy basically.
Oh.
So this has been an insightful and some serious discussion. So to lighten the mood, I have some questions, rapid fire questions that you have to answer quickly and in a short length. You don't have to be expressive or in detail.
Oh, that is going to
So
be very hard.
let's see if it
Yeah.
is hard for you. One book you think you would have written.
Many books, I should have written Harry Potter. I should have written The Silent Patient. Not because I could have done it better, but because every writer aspires to write that book which has that element, which just resonates with readers. So with silent, like every thriller writer would want to just drop that bomb, like what happens in silent patient. So due to that reason, like I'm just jealous of them. That's all.
One genre that you will never write in.
Romance. I already gave you the answer.
Who do you think is the most underrated author in India?
I wouldn't know about the most because, of course, I haven't read any everyone. But I would say recently I had a chat with Yashraj Goswami, and I think he's very underrated. His book is amazing, amazing, and I love it. And I'm waiting for the next book. I recently read Ahilya, and it is also very well written. So I would say Koral Das Gupta, but I think she's not
But
that
not
underrated. Everybody knows
underrated,
about her.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
underrated.
So then Yashraj.
So, is that book having a sequel?
No, no, no. I'm hoping there is a sequel or maybe just the next book by him.
Please don't say that I'm not going to read that book
No, there is no
until the
sequel.
sequel comes.
No, there is no sequel, but I'm just hoping he writes something next
Dream collaboration with another author.
with Yashraj, with you.
Okay, I'm going to post this on Instagram and tag Yashraj. A place you would love to visit for writing inspiration.
Hill stations, maybe, because the first book is set in a hill station, or what else could be like ancient places. Yeah. So, what I like I forgot this, but the correct answer would be courtrooms and police stations because because this is what I'm planning to write next. Uh,
And
yeah.
lovely. I think those are the two places that would
Hmm.
allow you to sit inside and scribble down. You just have to sit and you have to observe things. Like
Not
recently,
just like courtrooms. You have to just observe everything, how the whole
exactly,
bureaucracy
exactly.
works. That you have to see. I know for a fact that you can just walk in inside the Saket district court, and I am planning to do that
Oh
very
my
soon.
god! Recently, one of my friends, he was
Mhm.
saying his one of his friends has become a lawyer and he's going to do his first case. So their group, like their friends group, is going to sit in that courtroom and see how he does, and to try to mock him or something like make funny
Oh,
for him basically. They
like
just
it's like
want to
you're
tease
giving
him.
a presentation and your friends are trying to make you laugh, things like that.
Exactly, like they
Mhm.
want to make it something like that that you are not in
What
a
I
courtroom, you
also
are.
what I want to do is like follow around a policeman when he's working on a case, just to see what all protocols he follows, what all he does, how the investigation unfolds. But I don't think anybody's gonna agree to that. But we'll see.
I think there might be people doing it, and I am pretty much sure if you will plan it and you want to do it, you will definitely do it. I
That I
can,
will. That I will.
I know you how you are, so I can think like if you are doing that, do let me know in advance so that if something happens to you, I know where you might be.
Yeah, sure, sure.
That brings me to the end of the discussion. It was fun talking to you and unwrapping and unfolding the way you write and your journey. But before we go, I would
I
like
will
you
get
to
a
share
gift
your.
hamper. No,
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 there is no gift hamper because you are
small budget.
doing it virtually. For that, you have to come offline. So,
Okay.
before you go, how about you share your experience of being in this episode today?
It was amazing. It was amazing. You as a guest, like as a guest, I felt very honored to be here. But as your friend, you nagged me into doing this podcast. Otherwise, I'm a very lazy person. I wouldn't have done this whole setup and gotten on it. And thanks for preparing all the questions and everything, which I did not know anything about. And even if you had sent me, I am so lazy, I would not have gone through it anyway. So guys, if you enjoyed this conversations and you want more conversations like this in the future, then don't forget to subscribe Tanvi here, the Cricket Insight channel, and follow her on Instagram as well. I think she will give you the links in the description.
And if you also want to have a conversation with me, do check out the captions for detail. Stay tuned for the next episode.